Welcome to My New Normal podcast on your channel. This is part of the bigger movement, the ADAPT movement. ADAPT means change. We all can do it. We all are doing it right now. But there is a decision that has to be made after anything serious that you've overcome. Trauma, injury, permanent or temporary, or any hard situation in your life. You can choose to maladapt in your behavior, or you can choose to adapt and change and find your new normal and live an optimal, healthy life. So today's guest, this is so exciting. Drum roll! Chase Gentilhomme, who is a coach at Stay Classy CrossFit. He is a service warfare naval officer, about to become a physical therapist. So sick. He is also one of our adaptive coaches here in San Diego, California, the big, nice vacation spot for y'all in the summer. We also have Keith Concur, who is a adaptive athlete, total badass, a man that uses his hands for everything, overcome a ton in his life, a giver, an empath, and someone who really wants to give back and help others in his same situation adapt. He is a thoracic, so some of the things that you're going to come across in this podcast is some terminology like T12, which means thoracic spine level 12. We have 12 vertebrae in our thoracic spine, which is our mid-back. You look on Skelly here. 12, so this is his thoracic spine, all the way down from the base of his ribs to the top of his ribs. So T12 is at the base of his ribs. It's right where the lumbar spine, the lower spine, meets. So he fractured his spine there in a motor vehicle accident and severed part of his spinal cord. He has an incomplete spinal cord injury there, which means he can still feel and has some access to levels below that injury, such as the lumbar sacral area that innervates tissues of his leg, muscles, connective tissue of his legs. So he does have some hip flexion and control in the lower areas. So when you hear T12, understand it's a lower thoracic injury, and it just means that anywhere below that injury, he doesn't really have a lot of access to it all. So walking is kind of out of the game, and standing up is out of the game. But he does have some sensation and some movement, which is why it's coined incomplete. If it was complete injury, the spinal cord at T12, he would have no feeling, no movement below the level of the injury. So in our spinal cord, like each level innervates certain tissues in our body. So the lower you get, most likely the more function you have, the more access to your core you have, so the easier to do movements. The higher the injury, the less likely you can use all the muscles in your body, the less likely you're going to be able to have full function, such as standing, running, walking around, things of that sort. So enjoy this episode. You guys are going to really dig this. We get real and raw. And stay tuned for the after show, which is where we get to ride the trike / used to be motorcycle, now a trike, and where you get to see Keith and Chase go at it training in the gym, doing things as optimal as possible, getting after it, not quitting, and adapting. Enjoy. Cheers. Welcome to this is not beer. This is nitro coffee.
10 a.m. beer.
My second one for the day. And we're two-fisting it with water and coffee. Maybe a little beer later. Okay, so welcome to Movement Arcs HQ. This is our first episode of My New Normal podcast. So this is part of the ADAPT movement. Adapting is basically when you've dealt with some kind of injury or major thing in your life. What do? Do you maladapt? Can you maladapt, or do you adapt? Meaning, can you be resilient? Can your body and mind be resilient and change? Adapting is part of life naturally, but you have a choice in there too, to either live optimally or not live optimally. So that's what this podcast is about, and I'm super stoked to have Keith Concur. Is that how you say your last name? Concar. Okay, thank you. Keith Concur and Chase Gentilhomme. Gentilhomme?
Gentilhomme.
Oh my God. Okay.
Forget it.
Gentilhomme.
I've given up.
I like Gentilhomme. That is
There you
so
go.
great. So I'm super stoked to have you guys on because, one, we've been working together you've been in the classes now for 6-7 months.
Yeah, something like that, man.
And you've been coaching with this group for about
Probably
the same
8-9 months.
Yeah.
Like November last year.
Yeah, so a little bit for the people listening, because a lot of the people listening are going to be new to this. This is one of the only adaptive podcasts out there right now, which is pretty cool. Paving the way is that so here in Southern California, we run adaptive strength and conditioning classes at Bear Public, 1904, and
Kinvon.
Kivnot, yeah.
Kivnot.
And then there's also one in Invictus. So we've got probably 20 plus athletes now able to go around to the different classes. And now, especially with Bear 1904, I have different coaches that have been working with me to include you, Chase, which has been really awesome. So since we sat down and you told me you wanted to be a physical therapist, it's been really awesome to have you on staff. So I want to kind of pick your brain today about what coaching with adaptive individuals means for you. And then you, Keith, coming into the class, I've been coaching an adaptive class for 5 years since I started my PT practice. But you came in at a much higher level than a lot of the athletes that have come in, and just came in knowing exactly what you wanted, what you needed. I've been looking for something like this for a long time, and your work capacity is pretty incredible. So I thought it was pretty cool to get you two both here today because you've worked a lot with him, especially the Wednesday morning classes. So we run classes Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, and then there's now Thursday, and then Wednesday afternoon classes that are available. But I'll be posting all of that stuff in the show notes as well. So, okay. So first thing to get this started, you guys, let's do a little icebreaker, okay? This is awkward. Sitting in a circle, and so tell me what your spirit animal would be, if you would be one. What kind of animal would you resonate with, if you would be? And I'll share.
Right? I never thought of this one.
I'll share.
I did. She caught me off guard last time.
So
I need heads
I'll
up
share
on
with you
these
mine,
lists.
okay? Because this is something that I was asked this. A Marine buddy of mine did a leadership seminar, and he asked us all this, and I was like, "What is my spirit animal?" My spirit animal is a polar bear, and here's why. Because they're big. I'm big.
Yeah.
I'm white, and I look cuddly, but I am not if you fuck with me or my family. So I'm a warrior. I've gone through good times, bad times in my life, and I feel like always looking for the growth experience in it. And hey, I think polar bears they look cuddly, they're sweet, they're fighters and hunters, but they are survivors. They survive in the cold. I don't really like the cold. I can handle it, but I can survive.
Yeah.
So go ahead. What have you?
Yeah, I never really thought that deep into it.
Damn, yeah, I know, right?
She caught me off guard last
super
time.
meaningful.
And, yeah, I was like, what did I say? A seagull, because seagulls like you by the beach, and I was like, no, because I fly around and just shit on all my haters. That's about it. We got them. So. But
that's a good one.
I haven't really thought about it, but that would be it. I don't know, the haters.
Seagulls fly around and shit on the haters and hang out at the beach.
Yeah, hang out at the beach. I don't really hang out at the beach too much.
Yeah, I know. Cool.
Yeah, oh man. I'll go with gorilla. Because they don't really have a neck, and neither do I. I don't know. Big, tough, just like you said, they can be soft, and they take care of and kind, and they take care of those close to them and dear to them, but at the same time you fuck with them, or you fuck with their family, and they will mess you up.
I don't want to fuck with you.
And they like to hang around and just eat fruit. I'm good with that.
And
Just
your
chill out and eat.
gymnastics monkey.
Yeah. Yeah.
Really likes party.
Yeah, nice. So gorilla and seagull and polar bear, all sitting in one room. This is great.
It's like a good start to a joke.
Yeah. So you mind if I just call you gorilla Chase and
Yeah,
seagull?
that sounds good.
And
Usually when I was teaching,
If I had more time, I don't know.
it's okay. That one's a throw off guard one. So when I was teaching these seminars for CrossFit, the movement and mobility courses, and people had they had name tags on, but still, it was like, I'm not gonna read your name tag and then say, hey, you. I like to.
Yeah.
I can remember the spirit animal actually much better.
Yeah.
So I'd have everyone share that or some kind of funny icebreaker. And there was always notoriously one guy who would say he was a unicorn or some other like mystical
Oh, come on,
animal.
man.
So no unicorns in this. What about you, James? Any unicorn?
Brown bear.
We've got
Brown bear?
audience today.
Yeah, brown
James.
bear, definitely.
James, where are you from?
I'm from Cleveland, Ohio.
Cleveland. Hey, I'm going there in about 2 weeks.
That's where I'm from. Hit me out.
Really? Okay. We need to talk then because I
I'm
don't
driving
think
through
I knew
there in
that,
2
but I'm
weeks.
going for an event in 2 weeks. So
We gotta talk. I'm actually driving through there. Maybe I'll just.
yeah.
Stop off.
Okay, August 17th is the weekend.
All right. Yeah.
And I'm actually doing an interview with Crossroads that Friday. Crossroads
Oh.
Adaptive
Is that
Athlete
nice?
Alliance. Yeah.
Bone Thugs and Harmony?
Huh?
Bone Thugs and Harmony down on Crossroads?
No. Crossroads Adaptive Athlete Alliance is a veteran nonprofit or a adaptive athlete
You go to
nonprofit.
Clay? You go to Clay? I thought
Oh
you were
my
going
gosh.
to 99.
Okay, we'll talk about that after the show. So, first things I want to ask before we even get into about you guys is, and this is kind of a good way to, besides the spirit animals, to what it could be values, it could be words to describe yourself. What are 5 words that would describe each of you?
Man, you're making this tough.
It could just be. It doesn't have to be. It could be values, just like a physical description. Doesn't matter.
Active, loyal, what would be like, go-getter, I guess. I don't know what's the
Yeah.
word. I don't know. I went other.
Determined as
Yeah,
hell
there you go. Determined,
and strong.
strong.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Sweet.
Brad.
Yes.
Yeah.
All the
Yeah.
above.
Handsome.
Sailor, amazing.
Yes. Yeah.
Sailor, sailor, striking.
What about you?
Yeah, charming. Right. There we go. Oh man, echoing a lot of those, but driven. You said go-getter. It was the same thing.
Okay.
Driven, loyal. I'm trying to think of the word. I mean, it's kind of part of what I'm doing here, but like I try to. I enjoy helping others, and
Yeah. Compassionate. So that one.
Yeah, compassionate is, yeah, you know,
Check.
and then
Yeah.
integrity. I mean, I don't know what the adjective there is, but
A
feel like
man of
I-
integrity.
a man of integrity. Yeah,
Good
I think
to
that's
go.
4, but we'll go with that. Yeah, and then charming can
And
be number
strong.
5. Strong, resilient.
Resilient. There you
Resilient.
go. Yeah, I would say from outside looking in, one of the like training the adaptive athletes in general. My experience is we were all adaptive to some degree, right? We're not change. It needs change, but adaptive athletes is like they've overcome the most, and they wouldn't be in the gym with us in a CrossFit high performance environment or on a ski slope if they didn't choose to like find their new normal and like be optimal. And it's the most resilient humans I've ever met. And I think, to be honest, one of the reasons why I coach and have started doing this is because I need that in my life. I need reminders of that all the time.
Yeah,
So I get way more I feel like I get way more out of it than I give.
100%.
So it's I would say both of you. I mean, you as a resilient you coming from, you can tell, I'm not going to tell your background, but the journey you're on,
Yeah.
you've had to overcome a lot and making some big choices. And then you, with the way you're living your life and having this major injury and overcoming it and just saying, okay, this is my new life. I'm going to make the best of it. That's resilience right there. There's so many people. I mean, I'm a physical therapist. I see people who complain of plantar fasciitis or back pain and it's the end of the world. It's like, no, it's not.
Yeah.
You got some things to learn.
Yeah.
So, okay. Third quick icebreaker question. What did you want to be when you grew up? I wanted to be a transformer.
I saw this question. You sent me this earlier, and I saw this. Nothing. I remember growing up, and even in like 10th grade, when we're like, you're taking the aptitude test, or like, what do you want to go towards, or like looking into colleges, like going for this. And even then, I was still like, a little car on my desk, like, I don't know, firefighter. Like, I didn't know. Like, I still didn't know. I know I grew up doing construction, contracting, working my hands, working on cars with my dad, hunting, just doing everything. And I think I didn't have like something I wanted to be. I just wanted to do it all.
Yeah.
And I'm still that way. Every time I do something, I get bored with it. It's like it's in the books. Like, I got it. Like, I'm not the best at it.
Yeah. So you like holding your hands and making stuff.
Master of none, kind of like. Yeah. I just want to be able to know how to do everything. I just
You're a creator.
Like, figure it out. So I don't think anything specific, but that's just everything.
Sweet.
Yeah, I wanted to be like my dad. I wanted to be an architect. As a little kid, I thought it was so cool that he could be like, yeah, that building right there, I designed that. It was just so cool to see it go from like his drawings and what he designed and created to some huge new building. I like the idea of combining the art and design and putting something together along with the engineering, and then of course seeing it come to fruition. But as I got into college, I started to realize that as a kid I wasn't that confident. I was the quiet one in my family. So it never struck me that I would be doing something that really involved like the human aspect. Like, I needed that, but then I started to realize that I needed the human aspect. I needed to work with people.
Yeah.
And I found that to be so much more rewarding. So I would say the first time that I realized that I wanted to be a physical therapist was probably freshman year of college, and that that working with people was going to be where I wanted to be. And I needed to be doing more. I couldn't just be doing one thing in an office. I needed to be moving around. I needed to be working with my hands. Kind of an ADD child. I needed to be doing 10 things at once to feel like I was staying engaged. Mm-hmm. So
I don't think I've ever been in an office. Like, I couldn't handle it.
I do it.
I would get fired as well in an office setting.
I get up from my desk way too often.
Yeah.
Any excuse to like leave the office and leave the computer, I'm there.
So that's awesome. I grew up when I was little Transformer.
That's awesome.
Because my brothers had Transformers and my Barbies played with Transformers, and I was like, they're way cooler than Barbie. They got muscles. But as I got older, I wanted to be like my brothers, to be honest, for a long time. Like, they were like my heroes, and they went into the Marines, both of them. So my experience in the Marines made me realize, that was good for the 4 years, and I'm good. I'll do something else. Yeah. But growing up, I like literally idolized them. It was either professional sports or Marine Corps. So it's amazing the journey where like, even if I didn't really have like a clear distinction to what I wanted to do when I was little, other than the funny Transformers, but I just wanted to do things that made a difference, and also when I was little, like, look cool. Yeah. I wanted to do something, make a difference, but also like look cool, and that was important to me for a while. And come to find out, that's actually not a really good way to go into a job. So I've done a lot of growing up and learning too from that experience from the Marine Corps to now, living a more meaningful life. So now we get into the bread and butter of this thing. So I want to know just from both of you, just a little bit about your backgrounds. Like we know you're a coach, know you're an adaptive athlete, like to work with your hands, but paint a little picture. And why don't you start, Keith, of just like, you know, where you grew up, what brought you out to California, and what you're doing now. And we'll talk about the injury, your injury later, but just paint a picture.
Just kind of
Yeah.
picture. So turn 40 here in a month.
You have a big party?
Probably. I'm sure.
Are you invited?
There's gonna have to be one. So yeah. I don't want to throw it. Somebody else is gonna do
Yeah.
it. There will be one. Yeah, I'm from Cleveland, Ohio originally. Born and raised. Just moved on. I was high school sports, soccer, wrestler. Had partial scholarship to wrestle in college. Went out there and ended up just doing college instead. I just didn't feel like wrestling anymore.
Mhm.
Rather just hang out and have fun than run stairs. And then just
Really? You didn't
yeah, it just wasn't my thing. I was tired of cutting weight.
Yeah.
And then I was 28 years old, so just a normal life, work construction, do whatever, bartending, restaurants, just hustle, flow, and make money. At 28, I was when Hurricane Katrina hit down in New Orleans, and I had the contracting background. So I went down there to help build. There was a church group that was going down, so I got a free ride to go down overnight with them. I went down there. It was just like a week thing, and then just seeing like the destruction of the place was just you can't even explain. Just the devastation of it. So when I came back, I was like, I got to go back down there, quit my job. You know, they were like, whenever you come back. You know, you have a job. So I went down there and I just ended up staying down there. I was down there a little over 6 months or so. I got a motorcycle accident down there. It was a pretty bad motorcycle accident, so I was down there in ICU and everything for a month or so, and then ended up, since I was from Ohio, I sold all my stuff. I ended up with my parents in North Carolina right afterwards. I was doing some therapy, and then I didn't like the therapy they were giving you. It was just like your common therapy that everybody gets. I'm a T12, so he's a T12. We're totally different, but we get the same therapy because it's insurance-based. I didn't like it, so I found was looking for therapies across the United States that were just a little more advanced.
Yeah.
There was one in Boston and there was one in San Diego. So I was like, Boston, San Diego, what do you think?
Obviously,
tough.
you
Really
come
tough
out here.
choice.
Really tough choice,
Now, was this in New Orleans? Was this the injury that put you in a wheelchair?
This is the injury, yeah. It was a
Okay.
motorcycle accident crash and it broke T12 in my back.
Okay.
So yeah, it was from that point. I mean, I was really messed up, but ultimately, just T12.
Yeah.
Paralysis. Kind of at the time, it was like midline down.
Okay.
But yeah, ended up North Carolina, and it took a couple years, but like I was out in North Carolina for 2 years, almost 2 years, and I was like, I need something better. It's like still an acute injury. I want to get whatever I can, get it back, and so I moved out to San Diego 10 years ago, and
Been here ever since.
and yeah, I've been here ever since. And then when you at first moved out, it was therapy, but then that fades away. It's like life goes on. It's like one is just boring, and you just can't do therapy. I mean, you need to do therapy your whole life, but that's just that's what working out is, and just staying active and treating your muscles and bones right. But I needed to move on. I needed something more. I needed to be able to live in California, and that's everybody knows that's just insane to try and do that. But I had an art background, did a lot of the contracting, and did woodworking, so I took it to I found that throughout the years, and then I just do woodworking and enjoy life in Southern California.
Yeah.
And just do it.
So now primarily you're doing woodworking. Are you doing things like this for other companies?
I do a lot of things like this for a lot of companies.
This is so awesome, by the way. We
Thank you.
freaking love it.
Yeah, right on. I definitely, people's logos, signs, art, decor, kind of that style. I mean, I've kind of been all over the board.
Yeah.
I'll do whatever, build people's mantles and cabinetry and just like I said, I like to be able to do it all. I'm just trying to find my niche that makes me money. And
Sure.
That's like the best thing. But I really enjoy doing more like custom pieces and just art for people. So.
No, that's awesome. The first time I ever like carved anything, it was a statue of the Virgin Mary for my dad, because he's hardcore Catholic, and it looks like the Virgin Mary got freaking an axe to her. It's awful. So this is I haven't tried ever since. That was one of those skills I just didn't keep up with. So I find things like this, like people who do this, I admire them so much.
It's fun.
It takes a lot of
it's
skill.
taken years to, I run across people that are like, oh, I love it, I want to do it. I'm like, I didn't start yesterday.
Yeah.
I've been doing it my whole life in one way, so I just, I like it, and I've been slowly building up my shop, and then it has to be an adaptive shop, so there's more, like, it's not just buying new tools, like, you gotta figure out how you're gonna make things work, and I think I have it down, but it's your shop, it's always changing.
Yeah.
It's like anybody that does construction, your house is, you're never complete.
Is your garage just like a man cave of
pretty
construction?
much, yeah.
Nice. And are you working with a company in construction now, or just you have your own thing?
No, I'm just on my own.
Sweet.
And I'm trying to figure it out, like,
cool.
The business aspect, like, what do I want to do with it?
Yeah.
Like, I want to enjoy it. I don't want to be a millionaire. I mean, I want to be a millionaire. Who doesn't want to? But, like, that's not my goal.
You want it to
my
stay
goal is
fun.
Just to, sustain in life and get by and be happy. Just be happy.
And you ride a trike.
And I ride a trike.
You built your own trike. I think that's a pretty awesome thing.
I crashed on a motorcycle. I've been riding since I was a little kid.
Yeah.
Little Honda 80s in the backyard, flying around with dirt bikes, so they can't stop now.
Yeah. Nice. Well, we're excited to go on that trike later. Thank you. SoCal style.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. What about you, Chase? Can you tell us a little bit about where you're from and
yeah, sure.
what brought you to adaptive coaching here in Southern California?
Yeah. So, born in Virginia, lived there till I was about 11. Then family moved up to New Hampshire. So, spent most of my life in New Hampshire. Growing up, played every sport, soccer, baseball, basketball. When I hit high school, really started focusing on lacrosse, track, and football. I was a really overweight kid, and that's where my knee issues started. I've had 3 knee surgeries, and I was counting them up. I've had probably at least 15 kind of significant injuries that have required physical therapy and operations and whatnot. But growing up and playing sports or whatnot, I just never let that hold me back. From the first injury, just learned to find ways to overcome it, and gradually learn to find the silver lining in each one of those, or the lesson in each one of those injuries and experiences. So I've probably spent around a total of 6 months on crutches and at least 2 months in a wheelchair. And that was my first experience with physical therapy. But it hadn't struck me that that's what I wanted to do. I still thought I should be an architect and whatnot, so I went to school for engineering. Realized I didn't enjoy engineering. Again, that human aspect wasn't there. So I started to pursue physical therapy and trying to get into exercise sciences and whatnot in college, and that's a whole nother story. It just didn't work out, so I graduated the degree in sociology. Going through college, I stopped playing varsity sports, just did club sports, got into bodybuilding, did competitive powerlifting, all of that. And then I was training like the women's figure skating team, doing their strength and conditioning.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I was their strength and conditioning
great.
coach. I was the club lacrosse team and rugby team's strength and conditioning coach.
Nice.
I enjoyed that, and designing programs and working with people and showing them how to, even then, move well. Senior year of college, I realized that I had been really blessed and fortunate to live the comfortable lifestyle that I had had, and I felt like I needed to do my part in kind of defending those freedoms and those luxuries that we've had just being citizens of the United States. So I wanted to go and defend those freedoms. So I decided I wanted to join the Navy. And so about 6 months after I graduated from college, I started officer candidate school up in Newport. After that, got shipped out to Hawaii. And I was on 2 ships out in Hawaii, spent about 4 years out there. That's where I really found CrossFit and found the functional movement, or functional fitness, and started to appreciate all the merits of that and how that can apply to everyday life and just moving well. Back then it was all about beating everybody else and just being as strong and as fast as I could be. I really didn't put much weight into maintenance and really good movement. And that's what led to some more injuries. And that's when I started to realize, okay, now I need to start moving well and focusing on that and focusing on maintenance and stretching and mobility and all of that comes with it, recovery.
Yeah.
Left Hawaii and got here to San Diego. I've been an operations officer on a SEAL team out here for the past 3 years. And my first CrossFit coaching experience was here in San Diego. As I started looking at transitioning out of the Navy, I realized, okay, what do I want to do? I got to figure out what I want to do when I get out, and that was physical therapy. And that's when I came across, ran into you. You did a clinic. You taught a class at my gym, and it was the week before that I was like, all right, physical therapy is what I want to do, and it was just perfect timing. So after the class, I asked if I could sit down, have coffee, and pick your brain, and you really blew my mind. Just talked my ear off for like 45 minutes about all the opportunities that are available with physical therapy and all the different things that I can do with it, and then invited me to check out this adaptive athlete program. The first class, I was hooked. I was hooked. It was just so incredible watching all these athletes with different injuries, learning to overcome those injuries and still practice functional fitness. And from day one, I felt like I was getting more out of this than they were. And shortly after that, you invited me to start actually coaching the class, and it was a no-brainer. I mean, this is where I knew this is where I wanted to be. This is definitely something that I wanted to be a significant part of what I do into the future. Seeing
As you move.
What's that?
When you move.
Yeah, when I move. So, right now I'm applying in physical therapy schools, and I'll be moving back to New Hampshire, as you just said, but looking to continue this and help grow it over on the East Coast.
Yeah. Well, it's totally possible.
Yeah.
Well, it's an awesome journey. It's really cool to see with yourself and some of the other coaches and the athletes, like where they've been.
Yeah.
Typically, I've found that if you're a pretty resilient person before injury too, and like you're just someone who gets after it anyway, like that recovery is just so much easier. It's hard, but I know we'll never be able to empathize, right? We all have different journeys, but
I mean, I didn't know that I was a resilient person before.
Yeah. Well, you don't really think about it.
Until
you don't know how strong you are until strength is the only option. But the journey for you, Chase, to become a coach and like this, I think the adaptive stuff especially is like, it really adds meaning to being a coach. Because for me, coaching just anybody who wants to lose weight or get in shape, it's just not the same as someone, and adaptive doesn't have to mean someone's just in a wheelchair, right? It's just the level of introspection and just decision making that takes place to like really overcome an injury. That mindset, taking that into the gym, is so much more than just weight loss. It's like, I want to move the best. They're appreciative like quality of life matters. Like the ability to move well, not just matters for like weight loss and movement, but actually enjoying their life and being able to do things well. And so I find that's just way more empowering. If I'm going to spend 1 hour, 2 hours a week coaching, then I'm going to make sure it's with the most resilient people.
Yeah.
So that's, you know, and for you, like you probably, sounds like you saw that too. Just, well, it's great coaching in general. Like you can really impact people. That's the beauty. I think coaching is like the first line of healthcare now. And it should be. Like CrossFit coaches, some CrossFit coaches I met and regular personal trainers are extremely intelligent. Some are not, but like they are the first line of defense. Right? If they see an athlete injured, they know enough if they've done their homework to help someone move better. That's the first line of defense. And then if that doesn't work, okay, try these mobility and stability techniques. Okay, if that doesn't work, now you can go to your doctor. Right. But until then, we should be handling it at our level. And then within the adaptive population, I found, so like as an athlete, when you're injured, you go see a PT, you have to. Like you gotta learn how to get off the ground. You gotta, after a major injury, you're learning everything new again. So PT is essential, but then there comes a point where the insurance game, like they can't take you past a certain point.
That happens real quick.
And so, so for some people, you know, they might be a year or 2 years in PT. And then after that, it's like the question usually comes up of like, what's next for me? Where am I going to train? Like, I don't want to just go to a regular gym where a coach doesn't understand what to do with me, right? Because I need a little bit of help too. Like everyone needs help going into a gym with movement, but like if you're a wheelchair athlete or someone with a missing limb or have had a traumatic brain injury, you know, there's that level of like, I want to know that someone knows what they're doing with me because I'm not going to pay this amount of money unless they understand. And so I think with this, you know, you moving out to New Hampshire just means we're going to be able to expand, right? You can run a class out there. We want coaches across the nation to be able to apply some of these things that we teach, these concepts that we teach in movement. They're simple. As long as you give a shit and you're you know, you've done your homework as a coach, and you're attentive to the individual and compassionate, like you can be an adaptive coach. And as an athlete, like athletes knowing that there are coaches and performance centers across the nation that have people that get them, that understand. And even if I found it doesn't take, you know, the most smart, like with all of the letters behind their name person to do it. It takes someone who just can connect. And also probably someone who's been through something themselves too. I find that for me as a coach, like I started doing the adaptive work because I need that resilience. I need to surround myself by people who are getting after it every day, and there's really no excuses. Because I have been someone who's not been that resilient in my life, and I need that. So it's like that medicine for my mind. So it's an exciting journey you're on, and an exciting journey that you're on. And I think that a lot of people listening will, you know, I know there are a lot of people in America who are in wheelchairs, who are adaptive, who have overcome major injuries and maybe are on that verge of maladapting to adapting. Like they don't know there's access. They don't know that fitness is an option, or there is a life with an injury. Their active life can go on. So that brings me into the next kind of the meat and potatoes of this thing is kind of the story arc of, okay, so if you think of adaptation as this arc, right? Adaptive is change. So we all, our cells on a cellular level have to change. It's the essence of our being. But like injury, so your motorcycle accident happened, right? Knee injury happened, so more of a temporary wound, right? I had an addiction, food addiction. An addiction is a permanent wound. It just, you keep it in check, right? So we all enter this funnel of this adaptive spectrum, and the behaviors that we've learned growing up, the resilience we had before our injury, genetics, like our overall outlook on life, all of that affects the way we go. So we can either go through this injury, go through a funnel and say, F it, my life sucks, like there's no way I can do what I used to do before, So then they see other people who have maladapted, so it's like, well, that's just the way I'm going to go. And maladaptation means not changing anymore, being sedentary, just existing and not living. Or you can make the choice of, I've changed, I've went through rehab, I've changed my body this much. I've gotten so far with my knees, there are certain things I'm going to have to modify and change. I understand that now. But I'm going to make the best of it. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't mean everything has to be goody two-shoes, happy-go-lucky, but you just choose to grow, and you choose to change and search for that optimal. And when you're constantly searching for that optimal, that's living. And so kind of what I want to know, we'll do this in parts, is, so Keith, how old were you when you went through your motorcycle accident?
28 years old.
28, and you were in North Carolina?
New Orleans, that's
right.
Yeah.
New Orleans, yeah. During Hurricane Katrina. Mm-hmm. My uncle was a firefighter in Miami, and they experienced Hurricane Katrina out in Florida. So one of my
destroyed the coast. All of it down.
I was pretty familiar. So I was young when that happened, but my other uncle went down and did some work as well. So he was a construction guy. Dennis Hornick is his name. Dennis the Menace. I'm sure you can remember him. But when you got injured, so what you were helping people regain their lives, Hurricane Katrina, through the work you do with your hand, like construction work. When you had your injury, what was it like for you, mentally? Because I just saw your movie. Movie. Remind me the name of it.
Take a Look at This Heart.
Take a Look at This Heart, which was really powerful. Yeah, and I want to get into some of the points in that because they're human things that are important to talk about. But what was that injury like for you, coming from where you'd been?
Every year adds to the story of, even back on how I felt then. It kind of changes, but I wasn't like most. I didn't get, paralyzed from something, diving into the ocean, diving into a pool, or falling off a ladder, where those guys are like, nothing happened. You broke your neck, you broke your back. So you go in the hospital, they're like, well, you broke your back, put the pins in, you heal from that surgery, they put you out into life, and they're like, good luck. That's it. With no me, I shattered everything, so I was in the hospital for over a month. And not only was I in the hospital over a month, I was in there in New Orleans, surrounded by the nurses and everybody that lost their homes and lost, it was, just so grateful that I was down there. And I was staying at a church the whole time I was down there, bouncing from room to room on an air mattress. So all those people would come in, praying over me or whatnot. I wasn't overly religious, but just having that, whatever there on you. So I didn't hit the depression that I guess that a lot of people hit. Almost everybody hits. I just was it's cool. I just didn't think I was really paralyzed. I was really jacked up. So I don't think I'd even got the paralysis part. I'm gonna snap out of that. I'm the lady that hit me came in. I was consoling her more than. It was a freak accident. This lady pulled out in front of me. Totally freak accident. She didn't see me. It's a risk we take on motorcycles. So I'm not mad at her or anything, but I just didn't go through that depression, so it was easy for me to keep moving forward. I never, I had days, we all do, because when it comes to the chair, everything changes in your life. So you're relearning, not just walking, you're just relearning your entire life. So, but I didn't go through deep depression, so I think that helped me constantly look for what's next,
Right.
And I quickly, I went to rehabs and I was trying to do stuff. I quickly realized I'm never, until science, technology catches up with time in the world, I'm never walking again. But I'm not, friends, family, everybody always sends me links to you see these robotics, you see this stem cell, I'm yeah, I've seen it all, I get it, but I'm not gonna get into robotics because I don't want to take 2 hours to walk out to my car. I'm just gonna get it real quick. The chair it just didn't hit me the way that it hits a lot of others. Now, I definitely have a lot of function. I'm a T12. I'm not a C4 quad. So everybody's different, but for me, I just never hit that deep depression. So it made it, the beginning, like, it made it easy for me to, like, just, I was like,
Made it easier to
I
cope.
thought everybody was like, oh, I'm so sorry you're going through this or that. And to me, I was just like, I mean, it sucks. Like, I'd rather be walking in, like, just because the world's made for able bodies. Nothing is made for the chair. But I just kind of, I get to experience it.
Yeah.
I get to do so much shit that you don't get to do that you don't even realize. I've done
Yeah.
tenfold in my life in the 12 years I've been in a chair than I had done before.
Yeah.
Like I've got. I mean, from free stuff like that's cool, you know, like
Sure.
you know. But like I've gotten to go places. I've gotten to see stuff. You know, I did adaptive tennis. You know, I got to travel the world. I was like doing
A lot of things.
like I've been all over. You know, like if you know first class when I fly, it's like still, like,
Yeah.
I get bumped up. You know, like not all the
Damn.
time. But there's so many perks. But like, there's a lot of stuff that I'm like. It's not even the perks. It's just I get to see. It's just my life. It's just the way that I do things, and that's adaptive to me. Is like you don't get to do that. You never understand what it's like to do that, and it's not like it's a bad thing. Like
Right.
that I have to go through it. It's an experience that you know stuff that you do. I never know what it was like to be in the Marines. Never went.
Yeah.
You know, I'll never have that experience. I won't understand, but you'll just never understand some of this like.
Right. It's a perspective.
Yeah, it's perspective, and that's adapting and just making life. Like I said, no depression for me. That's why I was very thankful. So I could really just push to keep doing those things.
Yeah.
And it propelled me to find like the new cool things and like
Yeah.
right, you know, make a new motorcycle. You know, people,
Right.
What are you doing?
Trike.
Like you're crashing. I'm like, yeah. Well, what are you doing? You're sitting there watching Jerry
Right.
Springer. Like I'm riding my motorcycle. I don't care if I crashed on one. Like,
Yeah.
what are you doing with your life?
Doesn't hold you back.
Just-
Well, that's one of the. So, did you ever have depression before you had your
I didn't.
injury?
Yeah,
Okay.
and that's another thing. Like I never had depression, especially in this day and age and everything that's around. Like I get it, but I don't get it at all. Like I don't understand what it is to have depression because I've
Yeah.
never been in. It never once crossed my mind. I had to fight with doctors and people and be like, I'm not going to kill myself. Like when I got in the accident,
Right.
like it hasn't even crossed my mind. Like
Yeah.
that never hit me, and I'm well aware that it hits a lot of people that way. But
I
to me,
think.
there was no need. It's like there was too much to do.
Yeah.
It was a new world. Like I had to learn a lot of stuff, but it was so much new stuff that I don't know, get to do.
Yeah, I think that's an amazing perspective, and it's just probably from guys I've worked with who are operators who are deemed heroes for doing big things in the media. Like, it's just their job. They're just doing their job. They don't want
Yeah.
the exposure for it. With you and learning about you, it's like that's just the way you were before. So there's really no shift. Now you have a perspective. Now you're in a chair, and you get to wheel around the world
Yeah.
and kick ass versus just running around the
Yeah.
world.
I mean, with the sports, there's things I would have done. I would never win on a sit skiing.
Right.
And I would give it anything to do that able body, go on the sit ski. It's the fastest thing on the mountain. It's the best thing out there.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know why they do that as an able body.
Oh my
It's so much
god.
better, but it never would have done it. Just the people
Sure.
I've met, I've never met these stories, and like just I wouldn't be.
Where
I
you
don't know,
are.
I'd be a shallow prick, probably. You know? Like,
I don't know about that.
yeah, I don't know, you know, but like I definitely be different. I wouldn't have the empathy or compassion that you know, and now great, you know, just get older in life, and that kind of I guess comes too. But like
Yeah.
I wouldn't have. I got hurt at the perfect time. You know, I was 28. I lived life. I did.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah.
the ones that are hurt. You know, when you're 17 or 16, it's rough because you're missing like
Yeah.
a chunk. But like for me, like maybe that's what helped me along is just
That-
the timing of everything. It was just time to like. It was about 30s or whatever. It was about to be a transition in your life anyway. So it just kind of landed on a transition, and
Just going with it.
I just
Making
yeah,
the best
my
of
life
it.
is just just go with it.
So the Book of Joy is a really good book. I think anyone who has experienced any kind of major trauma in their life, especially people that just are kind of down and out, like the last stat I read from World Health Organization, depression is one of the leading causes of disability in our country. It's only in the West too, like East. Think of like Tibet and they don't experience any of that, and they've experienced great suffering.
Yeah.
But there's a really great quote in it, because sometimes I've wondered like why certain things happen to good people. I lost my mother when she was 10. She had breast cancer, and it's like, why does she have to have breast cancer and this fuckhead gets to get away with this? And you can go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah.
But it's really not worth the brain injury.
Do it every day.
It's not
This
worth
guy.
the clutter. It's clutter.
Yeah.
It's like to think like that, because life is unfair. It's really unfair. But beautiful things can come from suffering, and often do. It's like I wouldn't be doing what I am today had I not gone through some pain, my own pain. You wouldn't be doing what you're doing right now with the mentality you have. Maybe you would be an asshole. Maybe we wouldn't be having this conversation. I doubt it, but maybe it made you a better person. And I think it's also creates just this introspection of, all right, now I need to figure out my life again. It's like a baby, right? You're a baby again, and you have to grow into this new body and this new way of movement. And because of that, it's made you more introspective and therefore more compassionate now to others in some ways, right? There's still times I'm definitely not compassionate, but it's so I think there's no fairness. It's like not an issue of fairness. It's just like this happened, and now my life is even more enriched. I'm just going with it because it's life. We've only got one. Might as well make it the best. So in terms of function now, so I know like this is kind of common too in the world of injuries and health professions. They like to look at images, right? It's like once you have an injury, like let's get imaging done of the spine, or if, like for your knee, like you come in and like imaging is the first thing that's done. Well, oftentimes when the doctor shares the image with the patient, whether it's the knee or spinal cord injury, it's scary. Because you're like, that's what I look like, and there's a plethora of things that are listed that's wrong with you. If you were to take an MRI of anyone's spine, actually, there'd be some things jacked up.
Yeah.
But really, and most people are asymptomatic to some degree. But with the imaging, so if we were to take an image of your spine, we'd see, right, T12, thoracic level 12, spinal cord injury. Was it incomplete or complete?
Incomplete.
Incomplete.
Yeah,
Function. Okay. But
as far as right off the bat, it's just pretty much everybody. They're like, oh, you're completely, like, they don't really know anything.
Yeah.
When it comes to the spinal cord.
Sure.
They're like, your bone's broke. Like, you're not moving your legs. Your ASIA score is this. Like,
But you're incomplete. That's a good.
But
that's
yeah, I have definitely hip flexion movement. So
good.
100%. 100%.
But you're
100%.
You're 100%.
20%.
You're 100%. So if we were to look at your like MRI report or CT scan, right, it would be scary. Anybody that looks at their spine on a freaking image is scared. It's scary. And I think that's a problem with healthcare, is that that's how we determine someone's function.
Yeah.
Right? It's this is what you look like on an image, so this is what you should, this is where you're going to be. This is what your outcome is going to be. This is what your life is going to look like. And it's like, well, no. Actually, we're so resilient. Like, our minds are extremely resilient. Our bodies are extremely resilient. So what is your function like now? Like, you have a T12 spinal cord injury. You can move your hip flexors, right? You can train with the best of them. What is, like, what are some awesome...
From day one, you mean?
No, just right now. This is 12 years later.
Yeah, 12 years later. I mean, I move as much as possible. So, and like I said, I like to try new things. So everything that you try, it's completely different movement.
Yeah.
So you have to, and it takes a second to figure that out. Regardless if you buy like a new couch, like that's a new movement. Like, how are you getting on and off this thing? But my movement, mine's a little different than everybody's different. T12 is not across the board.
Yeah, sure.
I'll be right next to my buddy that's a T12, and he's got just no function whatsoever. Legs are just, just a flaccid limp leg. Mine are so tight. So most people have a spasm straight out. Mine kick back because my hamstrings are insane and I got no quads. And actually, to me, that helps me because I can like lift my legs up when I do transfers. So that helps me a lot. That really helps my movement because I have the control to hold my legs together and move them as one.
Versus them not being together. Yeah.
Like a buddy of mine, he's a quad, and quads generally walk or stand before they gain any hand function back. Well, he can stand up. Mm-hmm. And people are like, "Oh my gosh, I give anything for that." And he's, for what? Like, he can stand up and to hold on to shit. Like, before you like fall over, like it's not doesn't really do anything for you. So, you just kind of figure out what you have, use it to your advantage the best you can. I definitely have hip flexion. I have a lot of movement, which allows me to not have to be as adaptive for working out. Yeah. I have more core than most in my situation, so it allows me to not have to. I can just sit in my chair and balance. But if I can't with a heavier weight, just put the strap on. Find out like what you need to take you to the next level. And once you master that level of anything in life, move up a level to something else. Right. And then figure out what, don't just stay like, oh, this is what I can do because this is, I have a shower chair. It's like, I put it back on it. It's like, well, if it's easy, it would be more adaptive to be moved farther back in the shower and just like the angles and everything, just figure out what it is back there. And it can't be like a one-time thing. Like you have to, there's trial and error nonstop. Like a trike, that's the third design I have on it. Like the first two just didn't work, so.
What, day one, so let's just say month one to now, what's the biggest changes in physical performance that you've seen?
Oh, I mean, I didn't move anything from the up here, around, even though it was T12, it was like I had no abs, there was nothing there. I mean, I couldn't even roll over.
Were you a fitness guy before? Were you into fitness?
I was in shape, I was high school sports, college, just, I stayed in shape. I was 20, so I didn't eat that great. It was college and drank. I was.
Come on, what? I
was
freshman 15 of muscle.
So I was very fortunate that I was active when I got hurt. That helped me along the way.
Oh yeah.
That helped for the initial, just when I could gain strength back and just push it. Because if you're just a hot mess before you're in an accident, you got a longer road.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that it's just a longer road. That's it. That time is coming no matter what. That road is going to be here. And just what you choose to do in that time is what you're going to look like when that time comes. Yeah. Or, how much movement you have in that time. But it's night and day from what I had nothing to. And that was like that little bits of physical therapy. I could feel I played music, so I could try to keep a tap. And when I got I could lift my leg one day, I was I get rhythm. So it's and I just really pushed for that. So now I keep rhythm with moving the hip flexion. Then I'll get spasms. So I'm if I was out playing music, I'm trying to count 1, 2, 3, 4. My legs just going 40. It's really hard to keep beat. You're spazzing out, but you just see little movement, and you just zone into it. Just keep keep working on it.
So is that something that as you continue to just grow, post that month one to just gaining strength little by little, what kept you going? I mean, this is probably a super simple, easy answer, but what kept you going versus saying fuck it?
A lot kept me going.
Was there people? Was it just?
It's tough to say what, but definitely. Family, just around, family and friends, it wasn't even so much you got this, it was just the sadness in their face that, that I was in that situation. I'm you guys are all way more sad than I am. Everybody was, I'm just not, but I think that was the motivation, was, just to get the sadness out of their face or whatever, just keep don't worry about me, I got it. A big thing was sports. I think it's sports are fantastic, whether if you're athletic or not, especially just don't do that, that sport. But I got into tennis, and when I got into it, and I was in a chair, and I was like, hey, look, I'm not gonna be friends with people in wheelchairs just because I'm in a wheelchair. It's not that,
Yeah.
because people still do. They really are. I'll walk down the street and be like, my cousin in Nebraska, Ken, he's in a wheelchair. Do you know him? I'm like,
Thank you.
I don't know him.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, people mean well, it's just they're
They don't know.
And the ignorance is another level.
We must be related.
Yeah, it's insane. But when I was playing that, when I actually did that, and I was like playing tennis, and I was a wrestler, so I was like, I'm not gonna play tennis. It's stupid. I got into it. I love it. It's a mental game, just like wrestling. It's 1-on-1. If I lose, it's because I lost. So it's
Yeah.
But the point of that is, I started playing and I started touring, and it's a massive. It's the USTA, like it's an association. I'm around 200 people in chairs for a week that is in this tournament, and it is just like, that's how you see how this person does it, and you see how this person's way worse than you are, but like, you've been in it for 40 years and this is how you're doing stuff. It's like, and then you're going out to restaurants and everywhere you're at, it's just wheelchairs, and it's like, and then you come home and it's like, then you're kind of back to like, you're the only one. It's like, oh man, like, but when you're around it, it's like very motivating. Like,
Sure.
That really helped out my motivation. It's like, if that guy can do it, like,
Yeah, you can do it.
I heard somebody go downstairs, and now it's like now everybody's doing it. It's like a normal thing.
Yeah. It's your tribe.
Yeah.
One thing,
Yeah.
just going back to, so the imaging, again, my knee injuries and stuff were temporary, but it was, you walk in and you're told, this is what you got, this is what you're working with. Like, goes back to perspective and mindset, and immediately my thought process from even the first operation was, all right, stop telling me what I have wrong with me, what do I need to do to get better?
Yeah.
And then when I got home, same thing with family. I was surrounded by family and friends that were like, I'm so sorry you got hurt, I'm so sorry that you're in a wheelchair. And they felt bad, and I'm like, that's helping, that's not helping any situation.
Yeah.
Like, for a second there, it feels good that people are trying to sympathize. It feels good. And there was some self-pity there, but that accomplishes nothing.
Yeah.
And so immediately you have to shift that mindset.
Drive self-pity.
Yeah. The sympathy
It does.
drives self-pity, yeah. So getting out of that and being like, stop sympathizing. Like, help me make breakfast, but let's get back to work, and let's get this. I just need to get healthy. So let's start working on what the road ahead is, as opposed to sitting on what we're looking at right now, and how unfortunate and how sad this is. Like, to a much smaller degree, but it was that mindset of like, now, hey, this is what we're working with. Let's move on. Changed everything. Like, instead of stagnating.
Get after it, and that's kind of the problem with healthcare. But that's how we can make a change in it.
Yeah.
Is just, like I said, coaches, people coming in who are smart, who are well rehearsed, and can say like, all right, tell me what I can do.
Yeah.
And tell me someone I can work with who understands my condition, because the way my imaging is not me.
Yeah.
I am not my diagnosis. I am not my image, right? You have a T12 spinal cord injury, but that doesn't define you. That is just part
I
of.
do from day one. It defines you. Like, that's what you're never gonna walk in. You're this. Sit in this chair. Like, they put me in a 18-inch chair.
Oh, bariatric chair.
My first one that I bought. It's like, you don't get to try them out. This is what you're in. Like, this is money and insurance, or even if insurance picks anything up. And I'm like, couldn't get in a single door. I'm in a 13.5-inch chair. Now that's really tiny. Just have tiny waist to begin with, but I mean, a 1/4 inch matters in a chair.
Mm-hmm.
Really, every last bit. It's like, but they put it on you like, this is who you are now. It's like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have to battle that.
Yeah.
It is.
So you got to battle that, because exactly.
They do that with anybody. It's like, go look at the stroke guy in room 2, or hey, like when I had an eating disorder, you're bulimic. Like, you immediately get associated with that. It's like, no, I'm not. I'm someone who suffered from bulimia.
Mm-hmm.
I'm someone who had a spinal cord injury. I have one, but that is not who I am. I am highly functioning. So I think that that's going to be a constant battle just because of the way insurance is and healthcare makes money by volume.
It can also, come down to that education. Like, these people are going off of whatever the book told them.
Right.
All right. And so T12 is going to be XYZ.
This is your function.
This is what we're going to go with. This is what I know, as opposed to how do we adapt this? How do we change that? Cater it to you, to the individual.
So what have you noticed, Chase, as a coach? Because you've been doing the Wednesday morning classes
Right.
from 8 to 9. Keith has been there. Amanda's been there. So one of our legally blind athletes. So an athlete who is legally blind.
Yeah.
What have you noticed coaching Keith? Like, how has that been for you? Because this is a new experience coaching adaptive athletes in the last 7 months.
It was already a new experience.
He's like supermoto, so.
Yeah, I know. So starting out, it was how do we adapt things down to cater to someone in the wheelchair or someone that's legally blind. And a lot of things we had to just continue to scale down and down and down to make it more accessible. And then this guy rolls in and he's like, all right, I can knock out a set of 10 pull-ups. I don't need your help. I'll go get a box. I'll set it up. This is too easy. This is too light. Workout that's supposed to take 15 minutes takes him 5. And it's like, okay, how do we now? I know how to scale everything down and make it accessible to anyone. How do we now scale up while still making it accessible? How do we make it more challenging but still accessible? So with him, it's a lot of we're talking in the middle of the class, like, how does this feel? How does this work?
Yeah.
It's better. I still think it's not that tough. Okay, let's find another way to make this harder.
I understood the functionality, the movements, the proper movements. I wasn't a bodybuilder by any means, but I lifted weights. And so that I had a lot. Just the knowledge of why you're doing this movement. So I try to instead of just throwing something around, it's like you try to lift it the proper way.
Right.
Especially with CrossFit, the whole reason that you're not just throwing it up there. It's like I'm imagining that I'm in my garage in a chair picking up something that's heavy, and it's like, this is why you're doing it. You're not going to do this proper motion and then come home and tweak yourself sideways trying to pull it up. That defeats the whole purpose of that.
Yeah, so a lot of this has been me teaching him what is the stimulus that we're trying to achieve. This is the proper movement, and then what he just said, what I'm learning is, how does this translate? Like, why would we do this? What movement in life is actually are you gonna apply this to? And then beyond that, like, what my goal is, we talked about having coaches educated around the world that know how to work with these adaptive athletes. What I hope is that I can give him the knowledge that he needs to run functional fitness and proper movement and whatnot, and take these scaling, these different scaling techniques and whatnot, and go over to an open gym at a CrossFit gym when he's out of town and be like, hey, I'm gonna knock a workout on my own.
Yeah.
I want to be able to empower him so that he doesn't have to just find an adaptive class wherever he goes. He could actually go into a gym and take care of it himself. That would be
That's my goal
awesome.
as well.
I think you could do that now.
I'm always in here trying to figure out, like, why is this workout this way? Because I want to be able to exactly. I'm out of town, or if I just can't make the adaptive class, because unfortunately there is so few of them. And we're in Southern California, so we have more than most places have anywhere. So it's amazing. We have actually more than just one wheelchair athlete. Like, there's San Diego's the mecca for chairs, so it's like everybody's just like out here.
How cool would it be if you went into a gym and did a class?
Yeah.
Like a regular CrossFit class, and the coach was like, this is the workout that we have, like, I don't know what to do, and you're like,
most of the time
I just need to set this
like
up,
that.
I need this here, I'm going to change this movement to this, let's make it happen. That would be so cool.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, I think that, one, you're on the path to that anyway. The things that I've found, and that's exactly what, you just hit the nail on the head of why I feel this is very much a niche in the strength and conditioning world. And I was actually thinking about this, like, it's not while I love CrossFit, it's a very small piece of the strength and conditioning world.
Absolutely.
Like, the regular gen pop of fitness, like 24 hours, is a lot of people. Like CrossFit, I don't know, it's like how many millions of people? Maybe a couple, 2, 3. But you imagine the people fitnessing out there. I just did a event this weekend for an organization who has hundreds of thousands of people that work for them, and it's all about fitness, and there's a supplement company, but it's like that's a genre of people. They don't do CrossFit. What do they do? But like there's wheelchair athletes there who had no idea. Yeah. Like we were squatting a little bit and had them doing dips. But that is exactly my mission with this, with you all, and spreading this message is like, okay, there are principles of movement that every human should follow. Able-bodied, not able-bodied, whatever you call yourself. We all move. There's principles that we need to move by. And when there is an injury, there are certain shifts in that principle. You still can apply them, but it's going to look a little different. Mm-hmm. So squatting is going to look a little bit different in a chair. You're going to use your arms more. Your hinging is going to look a little different based on the level of injury you have. Your pushing and pulling technique is going to look a little different too. Spasms in the legs, the ability to stand, being more front dominant, pushing dominant, that's going to affect your mobility. And then carrying things is going to look a little different, but you can still do it. So a barrier to entry for a lot of coaches in this world is, in the adaptive world, is they just don't want to hurt someone more. Sure. And they don't have enough information about the injury. Right. So my objective is to make, not dummy down an injury, but say, these are the principles of movement for someone in a wheelchair. These are principles of movement for someone, and you can give or take, adapt up or down. These are principles of movement for someone with a missing limb or a salvaged limb. These are principles of movement for someone with a traumatic brain injury or neurologic condition who struggles with stability. Like, you don't have to know every little detail of a spinal cord injury. All you need to know is, here's what nobody moves perfectly, but here's what optimal looks like in a normal moving human, and then here's what you should think about with wheelchair. Right. So, and that's empowering. So a coach can then take a program, any program, and say, oh, there's squats today, that's going to be dips for you. Or a PT can say, hey, I post-rehab, I would advise doing these 3 movements to improve, pull-ups to get you more pulling strength, right? Because the knowledge of just knowing you're going to be pushing all day long, you should be doing a lot of pulling exercises and midline strengthening. And then for the athlete, for them to know, it's going to take a while to grow this. It's going to take a while for coaches to even understand. Even coaches that have gone through adaptive type courses they have still a lot to learn, right? But if an athlete can understand how to adapt themselves, then they can go into any performance center and do the workout without really the need for anyone else to help them. So that's the goal. So we're paving a path. It's a little adaptive revolution.
Yeah.
Cheers to that. Adaptive revolution. Okay, a few more questions, you guys, and then we're going to get to some movement. So for you, Keith, in the movie you talked about, so there were some really important things you talked about in terms of what concerns you had as a wheelchair athlete, right? There's, after an injury, it's not just about movement is life, but the ability to have a connection with someone else. Things like using the restroom. Yeah. Those things are really human and really important. Yeah. So how did, how did your mindset, what was your mindset when you were injured, and then how did that shift based on what you learned? And what were your big concerns?
Everything was, like I said, you have to learn everything, and that's not just movement. It's human sexuality, relationships, and you're just, stuff that, just everything that you don't think about anything. That's all part of it. From your bowel and bladder programs down to even what the hell's a program? What are you talking about?
Yeah.
and everybody's different on that too. So from that to something as simple as vacuuming a floor, making your bed, it's the hardest thing in the world.
Right.
I don't. You just adapt to it. Everything's changed.
Have you found relationships to be?
Relationships
you can
are
go
always tough.
Yes.
They've always been.
Yes.
I don't know. I can't really be like, oh, it's harder than I'm in a chair. You just put yourself out there. I mean, it's not like it was just like, oh, I'm not in a chair, so like, it was just like, oh, you're coming home with me. Like, it's just, it's the same thing. You just put yourself out there.
Right.
It's like
you're human.
You don't put yourself out there if you don't go out. If you just sit there and watch podcasts all
Netflix.
day,
right.
Like if you're just watching,
right.
Yeah, Netflix and not doing anything. If you're not around people, like, what do you think they're like? Just they're not gonna be like, oh, sweet, oh, you're in a chair, okay, that's a little different. I can get over that. Oh, you're in a chair and you do absolutely nothing in life, like,
right.
So what the hell are you gonna show me, like,
right?
What's interesting about you, like,
sure.
And I have stories because I go do stuff.
Right.
I don't,
Yeah.
So
well,
I don't think anything's changed as far as, it's tough. It's definitely tough. The initial, going to meet somebody in a chair, there's that, like, there's an elephant right there front and center in the room. Like, it's, you can feel people's vibes. You know exactly who you can talk to and who you can't just by their, like, like, that's just human nature. Like,
sure.
I just don't give a shit because there's somebody else that you
Yeah.
just tell they don't even see it. They don't care. Like,
yeah.
Well, you just get past those people that they're there. Like, who cares?
There's always going to be people like that anyway.
That's
but probably in a chair, you might notice that more.
You notice it more because there's never not eyes on you, and that's not like
right. Yeah.
At first I was like, it's weird, but like it's not because I'm the weird one that not weird, but like it's what's different than norm. So I'm in a chair, and if I see somebody that's in a chair that's not like mine or something, like I'm just like, the corner of my eye, like not trying to stare, but like it's more just like curiosity.
Sure.
Like,
oh
what
yeah.
the hell? Like, how are you doing that? Or like what? So.
Yeah.
I get used to like the stairs and stuff like that.
Yeah. So the changes from. So it seems like it's just another thing to adapt to and figure out and like choose to take in the good.
Yeah.
Like.
I make it sound easy, but you have to.
Of course, it's not easy.
It's not easy. I get that. I just don't care anymore about people that I don't know whatsoever. And maybe that's a Southern California mentality because there's so many people out here. If you're in like New York and there's so many. Now, when you're in a rural Ohio, Pennsylvania, Midwest kind of town, and you're the only one in a chair, it's definitely different.
Yeah.
But out here, it's like I can't go to the grocery store without just like running into somebody that's in a chair. Like it's such a normal thing out here.
Yeah.
So I get that helps too.
Yeah.
But just not to dwell on that. Like this is how I'm different, and this is like I can't do things because I'm going to be seen as different or my limitations. Like dwelling on it, as I said, but like you make it sound simple because you just don't dwell on all those limitations. You're just like, all right, this is what I got.
And I've been doing it for 4 years. That's what helps. And I wish it kind of like not even somebody told me that, but had they told me that and I was able to get it, earlier, it would have made it even easier just to be like, you can see everybody's got a disability.
Yeah.
This person has cancer. This person has diabetes. This person has blown out knees. They have the worst back in the world. You can just see mine. So it makes it that like you're the one.
Right.
Like, you're that dude's literally on his deathbed walking, with oxygen and shit, and like, but I'm the one that they're like, oh man, you can't walk, like, I'm way faster than you, like, at every I don't know why you're rushing to get the door for me, like, you're the one that's like on a cane, like,
right. Well, that's humans don't know what to do. Like that's,
and it'll always be like that. So
it will. People. I like to. I don't like to spin everything to be positive, but I've used the term unskillful in a lot of ways. Just people are very disconnected with their bodies anyway, and with themselves anyway. That's part of the reason why we have a fairly sick society, right? You are not sick. But and actually, even disability-wise, I don't even use that term a lot, especially with the athletes that I work with, because I associate disabilities as someone who's mentally held themselves back.
Sure.
So people who don't even have really anything seemingly going on, but just, I can't do anything, my life sucks, choose to be depressed, right? Depression is actually a very selfish disease. I've had it. And I can see the selfishness, and I have to I've learned ways to beat it out of me. But it's, I consider, I want to make that everyone, instead of talking about disabilities, so someone that sees you and listens to your story, to say, that's an adaptive human. That's the first thing that comes out of their mouth. And in this performance world, it's more common, but mainstream, no. But people are unskillful. I mean, it is, I guess an example, let me see an example in my own life. It's talking about being in the military, just in general. And deploying to Iraq, oh my God, did you see people blow up? And it's no, we do regular jobs over there. Yeah. It's war. It's we're running a bureaucracy, but in a combat zone. And no, not every day is seeing people blown up. People just don't know.
That's all they've seen in mainstream or news or movies. That's all they know.
Right. But I also think we all have our own realities, perspectives and realities. So people who I think are very disconnected with their bodies and minds, and they tend to be a little bit more dorky and unskillful when they see someone who looks different.
That's what they see in mainstream media. And there's a big thing when a couple of these movies came out, I forget the names of them, but anything with a person in a chair, it always gravitates towards that person is so depressed, and they end up, it's better for everybody if I wasn't here. I'm dead, your life's better. And it's always portrayed like that. It's
why?
What are you talking about?
That's a good point.
I have such a better life than you.
Oh yeah.
But in every movie, it's I'm
thinking of Lieutenant Dan and Forrest Gump.
Yeah, it's just,
I hear you.
Everybody's just, if you're in a chair, that person is just depressed.
Yeah.
There's never anybody they don't show that. And all these dudes are world-class athletes. They were world-class athletes, and then they got in a chair. You still are. Nothing's changed. I'm still better than you.
Right.
I beat able bodies in tennis all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's just
It's just weird, but the media puts it that way.
Well, the media is it's a small melting pot of society. And they want to also create controversy,
right,
and they also aren't good about change. I mean, I just look at women in the media, and come on, they're stick figures. You see a man in the media, and it's they're normal, pretty much normal-looking dudes, but women are still expected to be look a certain way and have a BMI of anorexic, which isn't, what is that? That's not inspiring for people.
Yeah.
So, last couple things. Let's go to you, Chase.
Okay.
If you were to give your younger self advice, what advice would that be? Knowing where you are now. Or it could be someone in your shoes, when you're going in high school.
Yeah, back then it was just be more aware of others and their own struggles. Be more perceptive of what they could be going through, because a lot of things just on the surface you don't see it. And so for me it was if someone wasn't outwardly showing that they were struggling with something, or if someone outwardly wasn't showing that they were struggling with something, then I just thought they must be fine. When there's so many small telltales that give away that they could be having trouble. So that was something that I started to pick up and learn. Just the Navy, even just here in San Diego in the past 3 years, something that I started to pick up more on, just be more perceptive and be more empathetic.
Yeah. Nice. I like that. What about you? What would you tell your younger self? It's the first question. And and based on what you know now, and then 2, advice, you kind of already did this, but advice you'd give someone in your same shoes, same chair.
It's kind of like the same, all that. Have more empathy, more compassionate to know what people are going through.
Yeah.
I mean, not necessarily like you have to know what they're going through. Just don't be a dick. I mean, as big as a dick you were,
Don't be a
Like,
dick,
I like good jokes. It's funny. Like
Sure.
I like humor makes
Yes.
to be able to get through stuff. And
I like
but-
the don't be a dick.
don't be a dick. I was young. I didn't have any problems, so I didn't know what problems were. Like, just don't be so naive or ignorant to why things are the way they are for other people. Like, look into it.
Yeah.
I have that placard on my car, and that makes me a pediatric, a geriatric, a TBI, a quad, a para. You're just this group. You're like every disability. You're
The blue.
the
placard?
blue
Yeah.
placard. Like it just throws me into. I have, polio. It's
Right.
it's like you're just. Oh,
Put in a corner.
And I wish that it's like I guess maybe I was that way too. I used to park my motorcycle on the blue hash marks because I didn't know what they were for. It's just like, and that's not was being an asshole. That one was just ignorant and didn't even care to think. So just be more like. You don't have to know everything about everything. Just wish
Be more
to be
empathetic.
like more, more aware and understand why things are the way they are for people.
Yeah.
And not necessarily just disabilities. Just be more aware of human nature, like of why
Yeah.
people are the way they are.
Everyone has a story, and I have to remember that too. I think what really helps me in the work I do, just human relations, because I'm in the business of human relations, there are many times I just want to not speak to any humans daily. It's just, I'm highly introverted, contrary to what you may think, but it's, I have to remember that a lot of the connections I do are phone, text, email, right, where you don't get that real human connection like here. And it's like everyone has a story, and some people may have bad days, and depending on where they're coming from, they might not be skillful in communication. Like, I'm become a pretty vulnerable human, like just being able, you guys too, being able to share your story and say, like, just the vulnerability is the way to live. It is the way to open up, be loving, empathetic, daring greatly. That's what it's about. But there are a lot of people that don't do that. And a lot of people in the strength and conditioning world that I've done many a podcast, and it's like very superficial, can be very superficial. I'm pretty tired of it. Like, let's have some real raw conversations and get into the stuff that why we do what we do and how we've become more empathetic. And most of the time there's tears involved, and it's just like you get this good feeling at the end. But I have to remember that there's a lot of people that aren't like that. And, well, I'm just going to keep them at a distance. I'm going to pull the people in who are. And that's going to be a small group, but that's my tribe. So it kind of makes you weed out the people that don't really matter.
Yeah.
And keep close. There's only should be like a handful of people I found that their opinion really matters. Everyone else, no. And I'm kind of on that journey now of just really taking that to heart and like believing in that versus like caring what everyone else thinks. So that's pretty much the end of the talking portion of the show. The last thing, so the show is about my new normal, right? So you're basically kicking ass in your new normal, because that's more of in my eyes, a mindset for you. You're a fit dude, but because of your mindset, like it's just a never quit mindset.
Living life.
Yeah.
So, and I'm happy. So.
Yeah, and it's
Kicking ass.
awesome to see. And then your new normal is you're shifting out of the Navy,
Yeah.
right, and becoming going to become a PT, and it's going to take a few years.
Yeah.
But then you're going to be able to make a huge difference in the healthcare industry. Not only healthcare, but you're making a difference now in the fitness world,
Yeah.
but in the healthcare industry. So I would say your guys' new normals look pretty awesome. And for me in the PT world, I definitely didn't fit into the normal mainstream PT. I could not stand being in the regular PT world.
Yeah.
I had to do something different. I had to do something more impactful. So my new normal is just creating a path in the healthcare industry and fitness world that actually makes a difference, and is especially with the adaptive athletes. Because that world is still, I still see even people pushed to a corner and just lack of understanding, lack of empathy. So I can see that changing here. All right, so we're going to get into next. We're going to do the motorcycle first. All right, so you guys listen all the way through to the end to Keith Concur tell his inspiring story about how he's living optimally and how he got actually moved past depression. Like he didn't even experience it. And if you listen, now you know why. Super impactful. And you listen to Chase Gentilhomme's story of being a kid, having a temporary injury, being able to definitely make the choice to maladapt, but chose to adapt and get into the world of fitness and health, learn about his body to take care of his own health, become a CrossFit coach, become a Naval Warfare Officer, and also Naval Special Warfare Officer. And you also listen to how he's going to become a PT, which is super cool and super rad. So I'm very excited for you guys to listen to this. Check out our next episode. Follow us on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, Dr. Teresa Larson. And if you know someone that needs to hear these inspiring stories, please share.